Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Bhakti Fundamentals. Today, we continue our mini-series on the topic of material nature, or Prakriti-tattva in Sanskrit. In our previous discussion, we learned more about the three modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. And we discussed how these three modes are the fundamental qualities of material nature that shape our behaviors, thoughts, and actions within this material world. Acting under their influence, we become conditioned or influenced by material energy, which then leads us to identify with our temporary material bodies and minds and feel at home in the shifting circumstances of material life. Now, what's wrong with feeling at home in the material world? Well, we're actually spiritual beings, and so material things and material activities can never truly satisfy us, not permanently. Thus, as we noted previously, these qualities of material nature act like ropes binding us, spiritual beings or jivas, to the material world and to a material state of consciousness. Last time, we examined verses from the Bhagavad Gita that described the modes of nature. This time, we'll look at specific examples of items and actions that fall under each modal category, which will then help us to recognize how these influences show up in our everyday lives. Our plan is to look at 3 examples in today's session and 3 examples in our next session. And what we'll find is that from these 6 major examples, we'll uncover principles that can be applied to countless other items, actions, behaviors, and situations that we encounter in the material world. And understanding these examples in today's session and the following one will help us make wise choices about what we associate with, whether items, people, or environments, so that we can cultivate influences that uplift us and remind us of our spiritual identity. Now, before we dive in today, it's helpful to recall how Krishna describes the modes of nature in the Bhagavad Gita. Last time we reviewed these definitions, but here they are again to serve as a reminder. Krishna says to Arjuna in chapter 14, "O sinless one, the mode of goodness, being purer than the others, is illuminating, and it frees one from all sinful reactions. Those situated in that mode become conditioned by a sense of happiness and knowledge. The mode of passion is born of unlimited desires and longings, O son of Kunti, and because of this, the embodied living entity is bound to material fruitive actions or actions producing material karma." And finally, he says, "O son of Bharata, know that the mode of darkness, born of ignorance, is the delusion of all embodied living entities. The results of this mode are madness, indolence, and sleep, which bind the conditioned soul." Thus, the mode of goodness, sattva guna, is associated with clarity, knowledge, and harmony. Cultivation of this mode results in peaceful and nonviolent behavior, overall contentment, thoughtfulness, and awareness. When positioned in the mode of goodness, we're a step closer to spiritual understanding and can more easily springboard to spiritual life. By contrast, the mode of passion, rajaguna, is characterized by the cultivation of material desires, constant engagement in activity, a feeling of restlessness, and a drive for ambition and material achievement. This mode drives people to pursue material goals and sensory pleasures. Cultivating this mode leads to attachment to money and prestige and a focus on the results of one's activities. People in this mode are always busy and are often quick to act and quick to become angry. They may become so busy in material life, in fact, that they don't feel they have time for spiritual life. And finally, the mode of ignorance, tamaguna, is characterized by inertia, confusion, and lascivious thought and behavior. Cultivating this mode leads to laziness, delusion, and destructive behavior, such as intoxication. This mode obscures knowledge of the self or soul, who we actually are. So let's try to keep these definitions in mind as we explore how different items and activities fall under each mode and influence our lives accordingly. Now, the Gita verses we just looked at on the previous slide are from chapter 14 of the Gita. However, some of the examples we'll explore today come from chapter 17 of the Gita, which also deals with the three modes of material nature. And today we'll begin our discussion with an important category, food. And this is also one of the first examples Krishna discusses in the Gita. Food is significant because it plays such a central role in our lives. We generally eat several times a day, and nourishing our material bodies is essential for our bodies to survive. And it turns out food shapes not only our bodily health, but also influences our consciousness and mindset, making it a foundational element of our daily experience. So we'll take some extra time today to look closely at this category in particular and discuss how different foods influence us according to the modes of material nature that they fall under. On screen, we see different food items categorized under the different modes of nature, starting with the mode of ignorance on the left and progressing up to the mode of goodness. Then the far right column is the suddha-sattva category, or the purified goodness category. This category is especially important because it reveals how to spiritualize each item or activity that we discuss today and in the next session. This purified goodness category guides us in converting even our most ordinary everyday activities and items into transcendental versions of those activities and items. Of course, the list on screen is not exhaustive. It just provides a few examples for each category. Now, to begin, first let's look at foodstuffs in the mode of ignorance, and we'll work our way up. In chapter 17, verse 10 of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, "Food prepared more than 3 hours before being eaten, food that is tasteless, decomposed, and putrid, and food consisting of remnants and untouchable things is dear to those in the mode of darkness." So this verse, spoken by Krishna, tells us that stale or old food is considered to be in the mode of ignorance, though it's notable to point out here that prasadam, sanctified vegetarian food that has been offered to Krishna prior to being consumed, is not considered to be in the mode of ignorance at any time. It's transcendental, even if the prasadam is not super fresh in terms of when it was prepared. Srila Prabhupada makes this point in his purport or explanation to this verse. Also mentioned in the verse are foods that are decomposed or putrid. Animal flesh falls under the category of decomposing matter and often has a bad smelling odor, so does fish. And these qualities of those items places them in the mode of ignorance or tamaguna. Now, one thing to remember at this point, we are naturally drawn to items, activities, people, and circumstances that align with the particular modes of nature that we're cultivating. If we are predominantly influenced, say, by the mode of ignorance, tamaguna, then things like meat, raw fish, or other tamasic items may appear attractive and even desirable to us. However, as we begin to cultivate higher modes of nature, such as the mode of goodness, sattva guna, our preferences naturally shift. Those same items, like meat, then lose their appeal, and we are drawn instead to pure, more wholesome choices that align with the qualities of the mode of goodness. This shift happens naturally when we practice Bhakti Yoga, which elevates our consciousness to the spiritual level of awareness through our devotional practices, like chanting the Maha Mantra. Also mentioned in the verse that we read aloud are untouchable items, like alcohol, for instance. Alcohol clouds our awareness, inhibiting our ability to remember that we are spiritual beings. It also dulls our physical and mental clarity, reducing our ability to move and think lucidly. For these reasons, alcohol is also considered tamasic, or in the mode of ignorance, as it drags us further away from spiritual consciousness. Next, we have foods falling under the category of the mode of passion. Krishna says in chapter 17, verse 9, foods that are too bitter, too sour, salty, hot, pungent, dry, and burning are dear to those in the mode of passion. Such foods cause distress, misery, and disease. Now, while we all have different tolerance levels for spicy, sour, or salty foods, say, most of us have experienced a time when a dish was overly spicy, overly salty, overly sour for us, and we later noticed the effects on our bodies. The immediate pleasure such foods provide is often followed by discomfort or indigestion. Maybe we get heartburn or acid reflux from them, for instance. Or perhaps the food is so spicy that our tongue burns or our throat dries out. Food items causing such reactions fall into the category of rajaguna, or the mode of passion. Finally, we have on screen some foods in the mode of goodness. Before we read them off, let's hear what Krishna says about foods in the mode of goodness. In chapter 17, verse 8 of the Gita, Krishna says, foods dear to those in the mode of goodness increase the duration of life, purify one's existence, and give strength, health, happiness, and satisfaction. Such foods are juicy, fatty, wholesome, and pleasing to the heart. And we have on screen wheat, grains, rice, vegetables, fruits, milk, and milk products for some examples. In his purport, or explanation to this verse, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada writes, the purpose of food is to increase the duration of life, purify the mind, and aid bodily strength. This is its only purpose. In the past, great authorities selected those foods that best aid health and increase life's duration, such as milk products, sugar, rice, wheat, fruits, and vegetables. These foods are very dear to those in the mode of goodness. So that's what he wrote in his purport. So one of the key characteristics of food in the mode of goodness is that it is wholesome, meaning it is pure, nutritious, and healthy. Such food supports both our body's physical health and mental clarity, promoting a peaceful state that is conducive to spiritual focus. We can see why such food items are situated above food items in the modes of passion or ignorance. But eating vegetarian food alone does not make us spiritual, and vegetarian food on its own is not spiritual. What does make vegetarian food spiritual? Well, on the far right of the chart on screen, we have our suddha-sattva category, or the transcendental, spiritual category. This category is essential because it guides us in elevating even items in the mode of goodness to a spiritual level. Simply eating vegetarian food is not enough to transcend the modes of material nature. To truly benefit spiritually, we must offer our vegetarian food preparations to Krishna, thereby spiritualizing them. Once offered to him with devotion, the food itself is no longer material, it's spiritual. How does this work? Well, in Bhakti Yoga, we prepare vegetarian food, so excluding meat, fish, and eggs, specifically for Krishna, keeping him in mind throughout our cooking process. Then, after we finish cooking and before we consume the food, we first offer it to Krishna. Now, this offering process can be as simple or elaborate as we like. It can be as simple as a prayer in which we say, Krishna, I have prepared this food for you, with you in mind, and now I offer it to you with as much love and devotion as I can muster. Of course, Krishna doesn't need the food for himself. What he truly desires is our love and devotion. When we offer food to him with a sincere heart, Krishna accepts the mood behind the offering, not the material item itself. Even the simplest offering, like an apple, offered with devotion, is accepted by Krishna. In reciprocation, Krishna sanctifies the food, transforming it into prasadam, a word that translates to mercy. This prasadam carries spiritual potency. It purifies us and allows us to connect with Krishna and receive his mercy through the simple act of honoring the food that we've prepared with love. This theme will come up repeatedly on our slides today. When we offer an item or activity to Krishna, except for those in the mode of ignorance, then the item or activity becomes spiritualized and serves as a means for us to advance in spiritual life. This is what Bhakti Yoga entails. It involves a change of our consciousness such that even our daily activities become opportunities for connecting to Krishna. In the Gita, chapter 9, Krishna says, "Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, and whatever austerities you perform, do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering to me. In this way, you will be freed from bondage to work and its auspicious and inauspicious results. With your mind fixed on me in this principle of renunciation, you will be liberated and come to me." Here, Krishna teaches that by offering everything we do, eat, give, and sacrifice to him, we can transcend material karma and the modes of nature, both of which otherwise bind us to this material world. By offering our actions and items to Krishna, we purify them and free ourselves from the cycle of material reactions, ultimately freeing ourselves from matter entirely and attaining Krishna. This simple, powerful practice of offering everything in our lives to Krishna helps us rise above our material conditioning and brings us closer to our spiritual goal of connecting to Krishna, the Supreme. Now, let's explore some other common aspects of our daily lives and examine how they align with the different modes of nature. This exercise will help us sharpen our spiritual vision, allowing us to discern the influences of the modes of material nature in the world around us. What's the benefit of this? By recognizing these modes, we can make choices that uplift our consciousness and bring us closer to the transcendental or spiritual plane of existence. Next up, we have our music category. As we talked about in our class on mantra meditation, sound vibration plays a significant role in shaping our consciousness. And we've all experienced how some music can uplift and inspire us, while other music can drag our consciousness down. Music in the mode of ignorance may have lyrics promoting intoxication, violence, or demeaning behavior toward others. It may also have themes of despair, depression, hopelessness, or self-destructive tendencies, including suicidal ideation. Music in the mode of ignorance lowers our consciousness, pulling us into darker states of emotion and thought, making it harder for us to focus on positive or spiritual pursuits. Recognizing and avoiding such music is an important step in cultivating a higher state of awareness. Meanwhile, music in the mode of passion is often excessively loud, fast-paced, or aggressively amplified. Listening to such music may stir up anger, excitement, or restlessness within us. Our material desires and ambitions may increase. Songs in this category may also feature themes of power, domination, competition, or romantic obsession. Finally, songs in the mode of goodness include those with a soothing or melodic composition. They often have uplifting themes centered around gratitude, love, and compassion. Perhaps they focus on nature, the divine. This type of music often includes lyrics that inspire introspection, encouraging us to reflect on our lives or the world in a thoughtful manner. It's important to remember that these same categorizations apply not only to music, but also to TV shows, movies, books, and other forms of media. These forms of entertainment share similar qualities to those we discussed in music, and they influence our consciousness in comparable ways. Just as music can shape our state of mind and emotions, the content we consume through other mediums can subtly or overtly affect our thoughts, values, and behaviors. By carefully selecting the media we engage with, we can consciously align our choices with higher modes of thought and behavior. This intentional approach helps us cultivate a mindset that supports our spiritual goals. And on that note, above the mode of goodness, we have our suddha-sattva category, our transcendental category of music. This includes kirtan, the chanting of the Maha Mantra set to music, and bhajans, which are devotional songs centered on Krishna and topics related to him, and also other music that focuses on Krishna, English lyrics set to music. Now, unlike music in the material modes of nature, this music in the suddha-sattva category is purely spiritual because it focuses entirely on Krishna, the Supreme, and his transcendental activities, qualities, and glories. Engaging in kirtan or listening to bhajans elevates our consciousness beyond the material modes, connecting us directly to Krishna and immersing us in a spiritual experience. This kind of music purifies us of our material conditioning, inspires devotion to Krishna within us, and brings us spiritual fulfillment. So if we can add it in a little to our daily experience, it'll really make a difference in our lives. Our next and last category for today's session focuses on environments, whether the environment be our own home, a friend's home, our workplaces, neighborhoods we walk through, or places we visit. Environments play a significant role in shaping our consciousness and influencing our mindset and behavior, as we'll see with the examples on screen. Environments in the mode of ignorance are typically neglected, poorly maintained, or unclean. These spaces may feel dark and gloomy and include areas that are dirty, cluttered, or run down. Locations associated with intoxication or lascivious behavior are in the mode of ignorance. The red light district in Amsterdam and nightclubs, for example, exemplify tamasic environments wherein the activities and surroundings pull our consciousness into a darker state, away from clarity and purpose. These environments dull our senses, cloud our intelligence, and disconnect us from higher aspirations. By contrast, environments in the mode of passion are characterized by busyness and high energy, bustling with activity and excitement. These places are vibrant and designed to appeal to our senses, often stimulating our material desires. Examples include shopping centers with numerous stores, restaurants, and attractions where the focus is on material enjoyment and spending of money. Urban centers like New York City and financial districts like Wall Street exemplify environments in the mode of passion. High-energy tourist destinations such as Disney World are also classic examples because they offer a constant stream of entertainment and sensory stimulation. As we might expect, these environments inspire us to strive, compete, achieve, buy things, or they may create a frenetic energy, driving us to indulge the senses, to spend money. Such environments keep us focused on external success, excitement, and consumption, but often at the cost of inner peace. Finally, environments in the mode of goodness are calm, peaceful, and natural. They have low noise levels and quiet surroundings, and are rich in greenery, clean air, and natural beauty. These environments inspire a moderate pace of life, supporting conscious and peaceful living without the extremes of stress or stagnation. Examples of environments in the mode of goodness include national parks, protected natural areas, and vegetarian yoga retreat centers. Environments in the mode of goodness help us to live simply and foster within us a sense of contentment with what we have. They encourage us to cultivate a peaceful lifestyle, free from unnecessary distractions and stress. These settings also provide us with the mental clarity needed for spiritual pursuits. But again, above even the mode of goodness, we have the spiritual suddha-sattva category. These are environments where Krishna is actively worshipped or glorified, such as temples, Bhakti Yoga ashrams, or Bhakti Yoga no-kill farms. Such places are imbued with transcendental energy, lifting our consciousness beyond the material modes of nature and enabling us to directly connect to Krishna. In fact, our own homes can also become environments in the suddha-sattva category. How? By making them Krishna conscious, which happens when we incorporate devotional practices like kirtan, or having a home altar, or offering our foodstuffs to Krishna, and maintaining an overall clean atmosphere. So today we explored 3 categories: food and drink, music, which can also be extended to other forms of media we consume, and environments. In our next session, we'll cover 3 more categories and include an exercise to help you categorize items in your own life under the different modes of nature. Please don't hesitate to reach out with any questions or feedback you might have, and let us know if today's session resonated with you. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next time on Bhakti Fundamentals.